You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for listening to the Locked On Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, brought to you by BetOnline. All right, Ben Mathurin has made it official. Ben Mathurin is declared for the NBA draft, and I don't know that this should really be a big surprise to anybody because, quite frankly, he is the type of guy that he's what an NBA player looks like. And I wanted to kind of go through a little bit of what he is going to be able to do as far as, at the next level. But first and foremost, this is a guy that leaves a very unique legacy at the University of Arizona in that this is a school that has prided itself pretty much, let's be honest here, on their on their perimeter play. This is a school that has made, it's known as Point Guard U for a reason. And let's be honest here, there's a reason for that because of all the point guards that have come through here, and the names are dizzying. It's, it's Damon Stoudemire, it's Steve Kerr, it's Mike Bibby, it's Jason Terry. At the end, even though he didn't play in the NFL or NBA, it's Jason Gardner, guys like that. And, but if you look at it, small forward, you could easily make the case that this should be called small forward U right there because this is a school that has produced Sean Elliott, has produced Chris Mills, has produced, Michael Dickerson, Andre Iguodala, Aaron Gordon. You can go on and on and on down the list of all the greats that have been produced by the University of Arizona at the small forward position. And Ben Mathurin is going to be in that list. Ben Mathurin is that type of player. He's shown that type of ability during his time at the University of Arizona. Now, he came here. He wasn't necessarily the highest rated recruit. He was a top 50 type kid. And again, good. But, nobody's looking at him and saying that this is going to be the greatest player that's ever played at the U of A. Not that he was, but you looked at it and, he could play. There was a nice little rhythm to what he could do. But as a freshman, you looked and you said, man, he's, there's a lot to like, but is he just going to be a shooter? And is he just going to be a finisher? Or is he going to be able to play on the defensive side of the ball as well? Will he be able to, cause problems? And that is something that he came back as a sophomore and he was able to do in spades. A lot of guys are just, again, they're that set 3-point shooter. They're the guy that can just get to the hoop, whatever the case may be. But he came back, and a lot of guys aren't able to do this. He came back with a lot more tricks to the trade. He was able to start getting guys off balance. He was able to pull up from mid-range. He was able to pull up from from 3-point. He was able to basically do anything that he wanted out there. And I don't know that a lot of people thought that he was going to be able to do something like that. Impressive about him is that he became a far more plausible NBA all-star, which I think is what he fashions himself as. And quite frankly, he should, because he's got that type of potential. Now, you look at the NBA draft boards and you see a lot of guys that have him somewhere. You see a lot of guys that have him around 10th pick. I don't buy it. I think that he's significantly better than that. I think that he's going to be a guy that is going to be in the 5, 6, 7 range, especially after they start testing him. Who knows? But I like him more than pretty much anybody outside of that big three where you got Holmgren, Smith, and Banchero. Outside of that, I'm in. I think that he can do pretty much everything. And this is the best perimeter player that Arizona has had in probably 12, 13, 14, 15 years maybe. And we're going to get into a little bit of the legacy that he does leave behind, because quite frankly, it's not just that. He leaves behind a legacy as one of the forerunners of bringing Arizona basketball back to national prominence. But also need to tell you about Athletic Greens. You a little bit worried about your gut right now? The Athletic Greens is where it's at. it's, again, people always want to say gut or, joint, what's your gut like? And you can be the healthiest guy in the world, but you know what? If you got a little bit of a gut, it's kind of annoying. Now, Athletic Greens, they can make that, they can change that for you. To make it easy, they're going to have a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamins and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/college to take ownership of your health. It makes people look cool. Why wouldn't you want to look cool? Welcome back to Locked On Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. All right. Now, in a school like Arizona that by any measure is a top 12, top 15 program of all time, anybody that can hold that mantle of being the best perimeter player for a decade plus is something that is quite impressive. And it's something certainly that Bennedict Mathurin can make that claim to. Not a lot of guys that can really make that claim. He's there. And he did it through hard work. We talked about how he was able to add to his game. I think the other thing, too, that he really showed, and this was in the TCU game, and he showed this one in spades, was that he could get to the hoop, that he could make the big shots when he needed to. You saw that against TCU. Game of the season, everything is winding down, and nobody knows exactly what to look for with the ball. Bennedict Mathurin gets it. I'm screaming, and again, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm screaming, call a timeout, call a timeout. And Tommy Lloyd says, do your thing. Bennedict Mathurin rocks back and forth, gets his guy off balance, pulls up from three, nothing but net. Arizona goes on to win in overtime. Granted, Arizona lost in the next game. I get that. But it showed you, too, that he had a different level of gumption that a lot of guys that certainly have. And he showed it. So there's really everything that he checks off every box from clutch play to athleticism to scoring. He needs to improve his defense a little bit. But I think if you go to a place that values good team ball, and I think you look at a place like the San Antonio Spurs, I'm going to keep bringing them up. They're going to be probably a late lottery team. That's the kind of guy, that's the kind of place that you want him to go to because he can work on his game. He can continue to get better around a franchise that knows exactly what they're doing. He doesn't know necessarily he doesn't know everything. You don't want him going to the Kings. You don't want him going to one of those crummy franchises. You want him going to a place where they know what they're doing because he's got that type of ability. Now, the other thing that he also leaves here with, he leaves here a legacy of being at the forefront of the rejuvenation of Arizona basketball, led by Tommy Lloyd, Dave Hickey, President Robbins. And he was the face of that. And that's what's impressive about what he was able to do. We're going to talk a little bit more about that on the other side. But first, again, we're going to have a little bit shorter of a podcast here. I'm going to have a few technical issues. Want to tell you about... Let's see here. I want to tell you about a couple different things because there's obviously a lot of different things we want to talk about here. But also want to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline is the sports book you want to go that if you could bet online about who's going to be drafted where, BetOnline would be that one-stop shop for you. They have everything going on right there. BetOnline, check out the BetOnline sports book. There's a reason it's been around. There's a reason that people are utilizing it. All right, welcome back to Locked On Wildcats. Bennedict Mathurin, though, now as one of the faces of the rejuvenation of Arizona basketball. It's got a little bit of that Derek Williams type vibe going on in that Arizona was kind of in the wilderness for a couple of years. He comes back. He changes pretty much everything, not just him, but he delivered an All-American performance for a franchise, for a program that needed an All-American level performance. So everybody out there, you should certainly tip your cap to Bennedict Mathurin because I don't know exactly where this program would be without him. Again, they would be good, but Bennedict Mathurin changed everything. All right, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Longer podcast again, a couple technical issues, but appreciate all of you, and thanks for listening to Locked On Wildcats.